In late 2016, I finished a quick tour through Europe, and as the fall and winter months quickly approached, it was time to venture into warmer waters. So I booked an awesomely inexpensive direct flight from Belgium to Recife, Brazil for $250. In the morning of my flight, I traveled to the Brussels airport only to find out that Brussels has 2 airports, and I was in the wrong one. So I tried to rush my way over to the other airport, but it took almost 2 hours. So I missed my flight and had to purchase another ticket for an additional $700, which included a long layover in São Paulo. Moral of the story, Brussels has 2 airports. Upon arriving in Recife, or as it's pronounced in Brazil, Recife, I just wanted to forget about the expensive logistical mess and quickly began enjoying the hot sunny weather, glimmering blue oceans, and the constant reminder that the beaches in Recife have sharks looking for their next meal. The following is my experience in Recife after living there for a month of 1.5 months total.
All right, what up? It's Leo here, coming in from Recife, Brazil. If you look it up, it's actually Recife, which translates to the reef. And it's in the northeastern part of Brazil. So that's what they call the Nordeste part of it. And all around me is beach, and the other side is all city. So if you look all the way behind me, you can actually see that it stretches for several kilometers or miles, whichever you convert to. And it's just beach, and buildings. The difference between here and Rio de Janeiro or Rio de Janeiro is that the buildings are a little bit more individual. In Rio is like blocks, sections of buildings. Here is just individual things that just basically come out of the ground. So you buy a little bit of land and then you try to build as high as you can. Basically, I've lived here now for almost 1 month. It's gonna be 2 more days before I reach 1 month. And I'm gonna stay here until the New Year's. And after that, it's back to Copacabana for a week or 2. So the things that you might be interested in about Recife is that this part is called Boa Viagem, which translates to good trip or good travels. And basically, it's the touristy part. So this is where everybody comes for the beach and the sunshine and the ocean. One thing to note, I'll actually show you really quickly, is that there are sharks in this place. So several people have actually died because they weren't careful for the sharks. Along with every Brazilian telling you that Brazil is dangerous, you have a greater chance of being robbed or killed by people than by sharks. But then nonetheless, you can see behind me, there you go. That thing right there says, area subject to attacks by sharks. So danger, there's a shark attack risk. Don't mess with the sharks. So Boa Viagem is the touristy part. The entire back area behind me for several kilometers, just buildings. And then as you go further inland, the buildings start to get a little bit lower. Everybody says Recife is not a very safe place. So I try to keep to my area at nighttime or just take a Uber wherever you go. No issues on my end so far, but nonetheless, still be careful. So this is not actually the center. The center is further behind me. It's maybe about 10 kilometers from here. It's called Recife Antigo, which means the ancient reef. And that's where the Portuguese initially settled when they first arrived here. And then it was taken over by the Dutch, and then it was given back to the Portuguese over several decades. That's more of the ancient looking part that has this very old feel to it, these old churches everywhere. The architecture is kind of outdated. Everything's a little bit older, a little bit grungier. I was actually recommended to stay there before coming here. But after going there a few times, I wouldn't really say that's a place you want to stay in for too long. Nonetheless, it has the fun parties.
Just north of the old downtown center is the colonial town of Olinda. Here you will find the real street parties, drums, trumpets, plenty of street dancing, and even carnaval.
So Uber, really cheap here. Traveling around is really inexpensive. And I also went to this place called Porto de Galinhas, which translates to the port of the chickens. And the chickens actually is a meaning of its own. It implies the slaves. So when they brought the slaves over from Africa or various regions around the world, they would call them chickens. So they sold them like chickens, the slaves. And now it's just a touristy destination where you go to the beach and you get some sun, like everywhere else here in Recife. Since I've been here for the last month or so, it is literally, out of the 30 days, it's been sunny for 28 days. So if you love sunshine, if you love walking around on the beach, This is definitely the place. When I was in Rio de Janeiro for 3 months, I think it was maybe raining about 20 to 30% of the time. But that was obviously based on the season as well. So let's talk about health. You can do Muay Thai here, you can do MMA. I got in a little accident with MEMEA. I had somebody do a front kick right into my quadricep muscle. So I've been walking really funny for the last 2 weeks. But you can do that kind of sports. You can go to the gym as usual. Vegetarianism is not really a big thing here. There's one restaurant next to my place and the food there sucked. So vegetarianism, not really a thing here, or veganism. Wealth, obviously Brazil's in a recession right now. The real is really poor, really weak, but it's great for tourism. Relationships, there's actually a meetup.com meeting here where you can practice your Portuguese, your English, and they would love to bring you on board if you speak fluent English. If you want to learn your Portuguese, if you want to practice your Portuguese, you can definitely go there. I actually have been lazy every time it's come up. It's every Thursday, but I decided not to go every Thursday, even though I should go. And Brazilian people are usually pretty friendly. I have friends here, so I just chill with them, not a big deal. And then happiness, to each their own. Read books, meditate, do whatever it is that makes you feel good in the land of endless beaches and buildings and beach. As I said before, the reason they call it Recife is because it implies a reef. Along this beach, there's actually an ancient reef. Some areas are a little bit more visible than others. It was basically plankton or coral reef that piled up, and it basically dried and died up, and now it's basically as hard as rock. That's why it's called Recife. That's why it's called the Reef City. So they are here with my cool hats. I'm gonna send this hat now to Canada because I have no more use for it in Latin America because it is nice and hot here, which I love. I love hot weather. Welcome. So Leonidas here, no Recife, Brazil. Até logo. Ciao, ciao.
My last 15 days in Recife, I went to Lagoa Azul, which is a freshwater lake just 1 hour outside of Recife. This involved taking an Uber through the suburban favelas or ghettos on the outskirts of Recife. And just 3 days before leaving Recife, I celebrated New Year's with a few friends as they paid tribute to a famous Brazilian tradition. Wear white clothes and jump into 7 waves in the ocean to make a wish and receive strength for the coming new year. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. This will let me know to produce more content like this in the future. Once again, Leonidas, Saúde.